Welcome to the 13th episode of Film Students Diary. Smash that like button below. On a scale for best courtroom dramas, if 2014 released Marathi movie Court is at one end, all the other good Bollywood courtroom dramas will be at the other end. Your aim should be to get influenced by both these poles and to be right in the middle. Let me explain. What have you learned from all these classic movies? They were aesthetically good at the same time. They broke even at the box office, right? So the border between art house and the mainstream wasn't much bothered back then. The renowned filmmakers who made those films, well, their lives had huge impact on their fictions, right? Slice of life. Heard of that phrase, right? But the next generation filmmakers who immensely respected these legendary filmmakers, they drew more inspiration from these classics and lesser from their own lives. This resulted in slight exaggeration and deviation from life. After each generation, the mainstream movies kind of shifted far from the slice of life kind. And some genres, courtroom drama is one such genre, which is way more messed up in India. If you ever get to visit a court for real, the rawness will hit you so hard, and you will realize that most of the Indian courtroom dramas were meant to give the audience some kind of epiphany, but they were not depicting what really happened in Indian courtrooms. There are some exceptional Indian movies which broke this pattern, and I want to stress mainly about the Marathi movie Court, which was released in 2014. I chose Court because this particular episode falls under the category counterculture, in which I want to talk about those who fought against the mainstream equations. Every courtroom drama we enjoy have some nail biting moments in which the protagonist or protagonist's advocate would perform theatrical gimmicks which with high voltage arguments and war of words to turn the fate of the case. At some point, when the stakes are getting higher, it breaks into a high voltage debate as usual, right? Chaitanya Tamene's debut feature film, Court, draws all inspirations from real courtrooms, and it doesn't have any of these epiphanies. It plots a Mumbai Sessions Court trial, State versus Narayan Kamble, a folk singer. State accuses that one of Narayan Kamble's song planted an idea that manhole workers should kill themselves. And following this, a manhole worker committed suicide. For those foreigners who have watched this at some faraway film festivals, the state's accusations should be pretty much absurdish. A mere folk singer whose good intentions and politics made him a defendant who is confined on the dock in that box where the accused is supposed to stand. But actually, with his cleverly layered writing, Chaitanya is actually keeping the judicial system in that box. Let's neglect the utter crap courtroom dramas. But still, there are many Bollywood courtroom dramas which are blessed with good content, right? They try to convey good politics, but the form they choose, the way they narrate it, is far from real Indian judicial process and the system. Let it be the old Damini or Pink, Mulk, oh my god, Jolly LLB, or even Section 375. Rajkumar Santoshi's Damini is a kind of a forerunner for all these Bollywood movies which fight for the women's rights. It is timeless. It will be a hit even today. But you remember Bobby Deol's character losing his cool to Amrish Puri's character and blaming the court, right? Tariq pe Tariq sequence. Delayed justice is denied justice, but the way they narrate it is too larger than life, right? Or let's take the example of Amitabh Bachchan sir's Deepak Sehgal from Pink, which released in 2016. Ultimately, he proves that no means no. Consent is very important. It is a very essential point. But how he tackles arguments and how he finally breaks the real culprits, it is too larger than life. By the way, I love both these movies, okay? But I hope you got my point, right? Although I have mentioned only Bollywood movies as examples, the pattern is same with all the mainstream courtroom dramas in all the local dialects. Those who haven't watched may skip this portion because I'm going to break down the climax of Court. To be precise, what happens as the epilogue to the climax. What's the climax actually? Though Narayan Kamble gets a bail, sooner he is arrested again. This time he is charged with a non-bailable UAPA charges. Though his advocate Vinay cites the health risks of his client, Judge remands Narayan Kamble. Vinay reminds that Narayan Kamble is denied of his fundamental rights since the court will remain closed for over a month as summer vacation. Judge denies it and counters that only Sessions Court has the vacation. So Vinay can continue the charade from the very beginning at some high court to save his client. And slowly everybody leaves and the court remains in the dark for the days to come. This is a climax. And with that darkness and silence, Chaitanya is giving us some time to think how the system works. Let that sink in because I have more to tell, he says, and visual fades in again for an epilogue. In the epilogue, we follow Sessions Court Judge enjoying his vacation with his family and friends. He's off duty, but he judges everyone and he has his own opinion in everything around. I'm not gonna talk about everything, but at one instance, he forbids his friend who is planning to send his son to speech therapist and instead asks him to go consult a numerologist and change the boy's name. Also, he passes superstitious knowledge on a stone which has magical powers to cure everything. Chaitanya is finally giving us an opportunity to judge whose rulings, whose words represent the court and the entire judicial system of the nation. And then at the very end, we see our judge in the foreground and some kids are playing in the background. Judge is sitting alone and taking a nap. Kids walk to him and does something mischievous. They thought he would take it lightly and let it pass, but they shout at him, they wakes him. He is totally clueless of what happened, and when everyone runs away, Chet feels that he has to express his anger and slaps one boy who remains there. He cries and walks away. Judge neglects him and goes back to sleep as visuals fade out to show the end credits roll. Here, the sleeping judge represents the judicial system. The kids represent those who mock the system, expecting some change. History repeats itself. When the system feels that it got poked, it retaliates, not ethically, but punishes someone who is easily accessible. System doesn't empathize with those who get victimized and goes back to sleep. They don't give a damn and they continue their lives with the centuries old ideologies. Someday I'll fall at this guy's feet, Chaitanya Thavinesh. Have you heard of the Rolex Mentor and Protege program? After court, Chaitanya secured a spot and he got mentored by Alfonso Cuarón. Protege Chaitanya assisted Alfonso in his beautiful movie Roma, and in return, Alfonso realized his protege's talent and served as the executive producer of Chaitanya's latest, The Disciple. Do watch The Disciple. It was chosen as the best screenplay at 77th Venice International Film Festival and also secured the FIPRESI International Critics Prize. Let me clear something. I was not rooting for documentation of actualities in mainstream movies. I don't want cinematic reality to be exactly the reality either, but cinematic realities shouldn't enforce false impressions and expectations about a system. Selling too much false hope is unethical, right? I love the movie Court. It is very effective, but that doesn't mean I'm insisting that all the courtroom dramas should be made in that particular mold. You can engage audience and enhancing the cinematic reality, but keep the essence of what really happens in courtrooms intact. For instance, Just Mercy is an American movie which was made available freely on all the OTT platforms during the Black Lives Matter protests. It is a biopic of American advocate and social justice activist Brian Stevenson, but it utilizes visual storytelling. It has very emotional scenes which has the potential to keep you chained to those characters with empathy. At the same time, it has all the flavors of a mainstream movie, even a familiar cast, including Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx. So, my advice is if you have an idea for a legal drama and if you think you're capable enough, then aim to make another court. If you want to make a worth enough courtroom drama for all sorts of viewers, then aim for movies like Just Mercy. Because don't choose a easy path and follow the usual equations to do another pink or mulk. Because form also matters like the content. By the way, it is just the first name which popped up in my mind when I thought about recently released courtroom dramas. But you understood what I was trying to say, right? Stay in the middle. I'll be back with another episode as soon as I can. Next episode category is writer's block, and I'll be sharing next step towards writing a feature. Do watch the previous episodes too. Don't forget about the buttons below, okay? Take care.